I'm making this video as a reminder to myself and others who may have hit a wall in their art journey. The goal is to bring focus back to a core fundamental concept that plays a role throughout your entire drawing process, even if you're not aware of it. The fundamental concept I'm talking about here is intention. Intent is the underlying event that is happening before you even put pen to paper. This event is what sparks someone to start drawing in the first place. Whether they want to draw cool figures, environments, portraits, etc. The want or desire to draw something is their intent. So first there is intent, and through intention, the act of drawing follows. This may sound simple, but this concept takes a lot of discipline to master, something I'm still working on myself. But depending on how consistent you are with this concept, you'll see improvements a lot faster than if you are unaware of it. Let me explain. Drawing is communicating an idea of something visually through the use of marks and lines. I've heard this phrase from basically every drawing source that I've seen over the past 2 years I've been self-studying, but I never really gave it too much thought, which was kind of bad on my end because now I have some bad habits that I have to work through. However, this phrase is key when we're talking about intent because intention has an enormous impact on determining whether a drawing will be successful or not. Keep in mind though, a successful drawing is purely subjective to the individual, but for this video's sake, a successful drawing is determined by whether or not it communicated the idea you had in mind. Don't get the idea confused with the image you had in mind. I think those are two different concepts. The idea is the non-visual aspect, mainly composed of words. Ideas in mind could be something like a ball sitting on a table or a person jumping over a bull. These are phrases that one could come up with and would want to communicate this visually through a drawing. So ideas set the initial intent. However, your intent will change with each stroke you make throughout the drawing process. More on this in a second. So now into the act of drawing. When it comes to mark making, more specifically making lines on the page, there are 3 types of lines that could be utilized that could basically draw anything. Shout out to Proco and Michael Hampton because they discuss this topic a lot. The lines I'm talking about here are the S curves, the C curves, and the straight lines. If you simplify the lines you make to only these 3 lines, then your subject becomes a much simpler puzzle to solve, where the puzzle pieces are C curves, S curves, and straight lines basically slapped together to make the entire drawing. When in doubt, think ICS. I for straight lines, C curves, and S curves. For simplicity's sake, I won't be discussing much about rendering, texturing, or shading, as these can be put directly on top of the line drawing. So drawing starts becoming more poetic once you understand that drawing itself is an experience that you can actually feel. After utilizing and playing around with those 3 types of lines, I noticed that my arm does a repeated patterns of movements. This is when drawing became more of a textile experience for me, as if I was sculpting. I actually have a form drawing video that you can try out for yourself, but only use the 3 types of lines that we discussed in this video when doing those exercises. I'll put a link in the description and in the card up top if you're interested. So during this drawing experience, I noticed that my arm was making a repeated pattern of movements. Often you will see more disciplined artists air draw or ghost before they actually commit to the mark they want to make. This is essentially syncing the hand, eye, and brain together with the idea or intent in mind. During these ghosting or air drawing movements, an imaginary line is constantly being placed as a what if of sort. Once a certain movement of the hand aligns with the idea that you had in mind, then the mark is placed. So a completed drawing is a string of events or a timeline of sorts that has a beginning, a middle, and an end, where each phase is progressed through by making each individual mark. This is why it's important to have clarity on your initial idea or intent and not lose sight of it throughout the entire drawing process. The process in this context is simply being aware and intentional with each and every mark that you make. Finally, I'll leave you with a formula that I've been practicing to become more intentional and present throughout my drawing sessions. This formula is a cycle that you should go through with each and every mark you make. For every stroke, look at your canvas and your reference if you're using one. Then visualize and think about the next stroke that you want to make. When in doubt, think ICS. You then want to practice the stroke through the use of air drawing or ghosting. And then finally, execute the stroke. This is where discipline plays a huge part, but repeating this cycle constantly will improve your awareness of intent. Eventually, this will become second nature and you won't even have to think about it much. I hope this video helped you. Feel free to leave a comment down below. Subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in my next video.